Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Today is a day of mourning here in Virginia because a mass shooting right here in our hometown of Virginia Beach. The gunman opened fire in a city government building on Friday, taking the lives of 5 men and 7 women.
As police investigate the motive behind the attack, the community is gathering to show love and support to the victims. Amber Strong begins our coverage of the weekend's events.
36 minutes, that's all the time it took for the horrifying incident to unfold. Officials say the suspect, a city employee, had not been fired and was not under disciplinary action.
He was not terminated, and he was not in the process of being terminated.
However, the gunman, Dwayne Craddock, did give notice that he was resigning just hours before carrying out the attack.
Shot fired, second floor. Going up the steps.
According to police, he went from floor to floor, aiming at those inside.
I got a nail down on the third floor with a gunshot wound to his arm. Still looking for the gunman.
Officers arriving on the scene in just 2 minutes, working their way through the maze-like building, eventually locating and engaging in a shootout with the gunman.
Officer hit.
The suspect died later at the hospital, but not before wounding one officer.
They put themselves in harm's way, in deadly harm's way, for people that they've never met.
The gunman's family posting a note on their door expressing condolences for the victims. One employee says he's thankful to be alive, coming face to face with the gunman 3 times.
I was impelled to say, Dwayne, stop, which I did, and at that point in time, he turned and looked straight at me, but he didn't see me.
His friend Ryan Keith Cox lost his life, ushering others to safety. Officials tell CBN News Cox made the ultimate sacrifice.
Instead of taking the advantage to save himself, he gave instructions, told them to lock the door, and then he left, and I assume was looking to find others to help or to engage the shooter. That was selfless.
Across the country, mourning for the deadliest workplace shooting this year. President Trump stopping by a Virginia church to say a prayer for the victims, and across Virginia Beach, more of the same.
We have numerous victims, and we have numerous families. Let's make sure that we keep their dignity and their respect as the #1 piece of news.
Amber Strong, CBN News, Washington.
Well, we've set up a fund. Operation Blessing has set up a fund to help the victims, the families of those who died in this horrible attack, those who were injured as well. And if you want to contribute to that, all you have to do is call us, 1-800-700-7000, and say, I want to give to the fund for victims of the Virginia Beach shooting. You can write us, CBN Center, Virginia Beach, Virginia, 23463, or you can go to cbn.com/VB Shooting Victims and give to help those who are in need. Well, the city officials say they want the focus to be on the victims, and the Virginia Beach spiritual community is responding. Reporter Heather Sells has that story.
Virginia Beach churches are grappling with what has happened. They are mourning the victims, and they're finding ways to minister to their community. Half a dozen Virginia Beach churches opened their doors over the weekend, many just miles from where gunfire erupted in the city's now infamous building number 2. Believers here are grieving together and supporting the community.
I think it's an important opportunity for people to come together and just to start the healing process.
There are a lot of churches that are coming together. They're praying, they're reaching out to hurting people. I think it shows who the church really is.
Churches want to offer Virginia Beach the space to grieve, to lament, and they want to honor the victims and comfort their loved ones.
We want the families and friends of the victims to know that they're not being forgotten, they're not lost in a list.
For Pastor Steve Lentz, the loss is personal. Victim Bert Snelling was a deacon in his church.
He lived just a great, wonderful, solid Christian life, loving his wife, loving his family, being a hard worker, devoting time to his church.
Snelling, the only victim not employed by the city, was a contractor applying for a building permit.
He walked in the normal course of an ordinary day to get a permit, and he walked out with a permit for heaven.
Those who knew Keith Cox say his faith was strong as well. He was active in his church and gifted musically.
Always has been friendly, always has been kind, always has been compassionate, and just, you know, it just shakes us at the core.
On Sunday, not far from the carnage, mourners came out to visit a memorial, bringing flowers, notes, teddy bears, and prayers. Behind the scenes, volunteer police chaplains met with the victims' families.
We're present for them. That's what we're there for, in any way, shape, or form.
Each victim's family has a chaplain assigned to them as long as needed.
It's going to be very tough for them. Not only have they lost a loved one, but in a very tragic situation. The people that I was with today, their big concerns is their children.
Many believers here say they can't quite believe that the mass shootings they've seen on the news are now a reality in their hometown.
It seems like evil has won the victory at this point because there's been so much devastation. But the Bible tells us to not allow evil to reign, but to overcome evil with good.
How that works out exactly, no one knows. For now, it's about sitting with a grief that's fresh and raw and taking comfort in the presence of the Lord. Reporting in Virginia Beach, Heather Sells, CBN News.
Well, our good friend, Virginia Beach Mayor Bobby Dyer, is here with us. And Bobby, we all want to know why, and we hear reports that the shooters submitted a resignation email the morning of. Is there anything in that or any of the information that you know to help explain why he did this?
Well, I'll tell you what it, you know, is an act of evil. And, you know, we have to cope with it as a city, and we're going to cope with this as a city. You know, right now the police are, and our very fine police department is investigating. And, you know, the details will eventually come to pass. But right now, the big question is why. And we really don't have a lot of answers right now. I don't think we're yet 72 hours into it. It's still, we're a city in a state of shock right now. And I'm sure that things will become more evident and clear as our fine police department does its job.
Well, you've called for a day of mourning today. There's going to be a service for the city employees.
That is correct.
And then Thursday, you're having a vigil for the entire city.
That is correct. But, you know, let's say this is not going to be a week-long, 2-week-long. This is going to be a lifelong. We have to embrace, and I can't tell you how pleased I am, the outpouring of love that has happened not only in Virginia Beach, but our region, our Commonwealth, our nation, and throughout the world. It's heartwarming to see the embrace that the families are having in this time of need. But the other thing is, let's also remember the people that were in that building during the carnage, you know, the memories that they're going to have. You know, we're going to be a city that's going to be proactive. The strength of Virginia Beach are the people of Virginia Beach, their resolve, their resiliency. You know, we have the military here. We have community here that is going to embrace and love. And, you know, if there's any time of prayer, Gordon, now is the time for prayer.
Now's the time, and it's also the time to remember the families. I think most people don't understand the impact that's going to happen to these families. They just lost the primary breadwinner, and now you've got young children that are going to go through life without a parent, without a mother, without a father. What are you telling the families, because you knew these people?
Yeah, you know, Bert Snelling was a friend of mine. He was a carpenter. But once again, you know, everybody that was involved in this was a neighbor, a coworker, a colleague, a member of our community, you know, who was taken from us. And we have the obligation to go forward and be positive. Through adversity, we're going to find opportunity, and we're also going to have, I believe, a strengthened community. I really sense that the community is coming together in a big way. The business community is out there in many facets, raising money. You know, Town Bank has already committed $500,000, and various groups like Virginia Beach Vision are mobilizing, and then in your efforts too. You know, it's an outpouring of love that, you know, in spite of tragedy, you know, it's heartwarming to see, you know, what is happening and in just such a short period of time.
Well, over the weekend, I was, you know, the question why has this happened? And then I've spent a lot of time in Israel, and I've listened to the Israelis when they respond to this kind of catastrophe. They say the number one thing that we need to do is to not let it rob us of life. We have to go on, and we have to celebrate the next thing that's going to happen in life. I think for the city, the next thing is going to be graduation of our high school seniors. But then, you know, looking forward, how do we not let this evil rob us of that life?
We will not, I repeat, we will not let this define us in the city. This was an isolated incident of evil. And let's remember always that Virginia Beach is still and always will be regarded as the safest city of a city our size. And, you know, just going forward, this will not define us. We have a magnificent, you know, first responder team between our police, our fire, our EMS, who responded magnificently. They were well trained. They knew exactly what to do. We have to give assurances to our public here in Virginia Beach. We are still a safe city. This was an anomaly, and we're going to be even more vigilant going forward. But I can tell you about the pride that we have, not only as the mayor, but as a citizen of the response of our police. Can you imagine the call of these 4 officers that ran into a building, you know, when gunfire was at play? This is bravery beyond the call of duty.
And they did it within minutes.
Within minutes.
Literally within 2 minutes, they were on the scene and in the building. How important was that to prevent further fatalities?
Well, I'll tell you what, you know, we have an extremely highly trained and effective police department that we're proud of. But when we have fire and EMS, you know, don't forget there was other people clearing the building. You know, you have to imagine the carnage that was going on within that environment. The bravery of our folks that, you know, just went in and mitigated that problem rather quickly. Any delayed response would have resulted in far more casualties.
Tell me about the officer who put himself in harm's way. He was shot, his vest saved his life,
correct,
but he still put himself in harm's way.
You know, bravery beyond the call of duty, but, you know, that's what our police officers do every day. You know, they go out and they put themselves in potential harm's way. They never know what call that they're going to get that is going to be neither a violent situation or whatever. And, you know, I can only applaud them. And, you know, as a mayor, you know, the pride that I have in all of our first responders. But let me put it this way. We have a city that responded. And it's not only the the public safety people, but our city and our public embraces, you know, the victims, their families, and, you know, this is going to be, it's a sad moment right now, but there's a lot of pride that we have in the type of individuals that we have working right here in the city of Virginia Beach.
Well, Mayor, we're with you. We're with the victims. We're with the city. Whatever we can do to help, we'd be glad to do it.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is going to be a lifelong process. You know, there were a lot of people that were, you know, going to have, you know, scarred by this, and we're going to be there as a city, as a nation. We will embrace the victims, their families, and we will improve things.
All right. Well, again, if you want to help, if you want to be a part of this Victims Fund, you can call us, 1-800-700-7000, or you can go to our website, cbn.com, VB Shooting Victims, and play a part in helping the families, the survivors, those who are injured. Let's extend a hand of love and compassion to them to let them know we're with you.